Before marketing or before the publishing to happen, your book should be something that you feel or you believe is going to sell well. You must have come across this term known as authorpreneur. Author and entrepreneur combined together. You're competing with YouTube, you're competing with influencers, films and OTTs and web series, etc.
And in conventional publishing, I felt that till you have a name for yourself, you sometimes can't decide even on the promotional strategy, the language you use, the subjects you write about.
I say that if you have 4 characters in place whom you know very well and they are really, really different and they are in really big mess in their life at the beginning of the story, you already have a bestseller even before you start writing.
My goodness, Kulpreet, this is my favorite podcast, and I swear I'm not saying this because I'm talking to you. I mean, your answer just swept me over. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, depending on where you're joining us from for this special episode of Towards a Better World, a podcast where I, Ayon Banerjee, host conversations with some of the most inspirational people from all walks of life. But first, let's start by talking about Emily Bronte's second novel. Have you read it? I guess not, because there was none. After her timeless classic Wuthering Heights, Bronte never actually wrote another novel. She died before that, at the age of 30. What a shame, isn't it? But then, not everyone is so unlucky. Consider Godfather 2, Sholay, Jurassic Park, or Lage Raho Munna Bhai, movies that altered paradigms of expectations in moviegoers and shaped popular culture. The common theme in these 4 movies, and many more, which I mentioned here, is that the makers of these movies had delivered hugely successful projects prior to these. Imagine the collective loss of cinema goers if Coppola, Ramesh Sippy, Spielberg, or Raju Hirani had become reluctant to push themselves beyond their established boundaries. Likewise, also try to imagine what would have happened if Amitabh Bachchan or Sylvester Stallone had given up after Mrityu Datta or Rocky V bombed at the box office. Our last performance often holds us back, either immobilized by a cruel failure or nervous of not being able to match to a future success. We are stuck and we stare at the rest. But if you think about it, each performance is an independent event in itself and an opportunity to start again, to do something scary and generous at the same time, and put our best selves out there. If you've seen the Rocky movies, Rocky said, fighters fight. Likewise, painters paint and writers write. And our episode today features a very special writer who reminds me of that famous Steve Jobs' quote, "Real artists ship." Art is often misinterpreted as genius accessible to only a handful, the painters, the poets, and the absent-minded intellectuals from stratosphere. Actually, it's not so. Art is any unique thing that you bring to the world by executing something that you do better than most people. Executing is the key word here. Being a Bengali, I have seen so many super talented individuals from my community slip into obscurity just because they fail to ship. Like Yogi Berra said, in theory, there is no difference between theory and practice. But in practice, there's a hell lot of difference. And our today's guest is someone who definitely knows how to ship. He is a decorated naval officer turned author with, hold your breath, 16 bestsellers to his credit, who is a screenplay writer, a Bollywood actor, a producer, and a director, besides a highly sought after motivational speaker. It's been an absolute honor for me to have known Mr. Kulpreet Yadav for almost 12 to 13 years now, and having seen his sharp trajectory as a creative genius. I just couldn't possibly think of any other guest to invite for a podcast on creativity. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, without further ado, let me welcome Kulpreet to Towards a Better World. Welcome, Kulpreet.
Hi, Ayon. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for taking time out, Kulpreet. I know these are busy times for you, especially because you've just come out with your new book, and I know. And first of all, for the viewers and all those who have signed up, I mean, congratulations from all of us to Kulpreet for his new book, The Battle of Haji Pir, which has come out on Penguin and which has opened as expected to the deserved #1 rank in its category on Amazon in India. I mean, wow!
Thank you very much.
16 bestsellers. I mean, I can only salute this achievement. So my first question, Kulpreet, to you is something in some variant or the other. I ask this to all my guests, is to give us a view of their page number one. I mean, how did a decorated naval officer like you end up becoming an author? Was it serendipity, or was it that you were always a writer at heart and it was just a matter of timing before you took that final plunge? I mean, please share with us the journey of Commandant Kulpreet Yadav to best-selling author Kulpreet Yadav.
Thank you very much, Ayon. As I said, it's a pleasure to be on your show. The answer to your question is going to be very long, so I would like to keep it brief in the beginning. So, to be very honest with you, I had no idea that I would ever going to be a novelist in my life. I joined the defense services because my father wore uniform, my grandfather wore uniform, so it was a logical choice. The only difference between me and probably some of the other people was the fact that my father introduced me to the world of reading books when I was younger in school, which I continued while I was in the college and as a young officer. And I was just someone who used to love stories, good stories, while the officers sit in the bar, as you know, and we chit chat and tell each other stories, or go and watch a film or read a book. Until a point came when I was about 36 years old, I was posted in Haldia in West Bengal, and something of the air of West Bengal.
Which year was this, Kulpreet? I grew up in Haldia. My dad was in Haldia in Indian Oil.
Okay, so this was in 2005, 2006.
Oh, no, it was later. Okay, anyway, sorry I interrupted your flow.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So I was commanding a hovercraft there, and it was a very comfortable time for me in my career because I'd finished 15 years of my career. I was commanding, so people used to report to me, so I had a lot of time. And I was once sent on temporary duty to Patna from Haldia for some recruitment. And when I checked on telephone while going to Havra, the train was on time, but when I reached at the Havra station, the train was something like 10 or 12 hours late. Okay. So here I was stuck at Havra station with a diary and a pen and a suitcase going to Patna for recruitment. And I don't know out of where, I just imagined the story. It just came to me. I have really no better way of describing it because I've been speaking about it about this in so many interviews. And I really do not know how appropriately to convincingly be able to describe this. But the fact is, I was sitting there having a cup of tea. I just had lunch, mach hair jol, and something probably in the air. And I my first book, which is a very mediocre book, by the way, I must tell you, I'm very embarrassed about writing that book right now. That time, the story came to me. I wrote about a character who's stuck in Howrah railway station, and he's being, the police is chasing him. Probably they're thinking that he's a terrorist, but he's not, and he's trying to evade the police, and he gets into Rajdhani Express, and First, I wrote about first 10,000 words of my very first book sitting at the railway station. And after my duty once I came back to Haldia, I shared it with my wife and she said, this is not a bad start. And that's how I completed that book. And the journey started from there. Of course, I've had lots of ups and downs and failures and rejections along the way, but that's how I started.
Amazing. I mean, so many fond, nostalgic things that come out of your answer. First is, of course, Haldia. I remember the Coast Guard cantonment in Haldia, and I used to go there when, as a college student, I had friends. We used to go for drinks because it was very cheap. Coast Guard, and all that. But the Howrah station thing. And Kulpreet, as a writer, not of your league, but as a writer myself, I know the thing that you mentioned, that the best writing often comes out in the most unlikeliest of places.
Absolutely.
Some of my best, posts or poetry has come out when I was in a flight or when I was waiting in a queue. And unlike, you make a plan and you sit to write, it doesn't come out. So, so I think, what a beautiful story. I mean, fantastic, Kulpreet. Thank you. So now when I got to know you, Kulpreet, it was like 2012, 13, like I was telling you off screen. So when you were a judge and you were kind enough to have selected one of my stories, which went out to the flash mob of 2013 among the 100 stories globally. And thanks to you. So you were at that time still in the naval, you were still a naval officer, and you were just about to take a plunge into full-time writing. And your initial books, whether it was India Unlimited, if I'm not wrong, and Catching the Departed, which was very successful, and then of course your Andy Karen books in 2015 and 2016, you simply I would observe you, Kulpreet. Those days I was on social media, so on Facebook, I would observe you going from strength to strength. And eventually you were wooed by leading publishing houses like Penguin, or even like today, Rupa, Penguin, etc. So as an author myself, I know that this, even if it takes a lot to land a real bestseller and get that call from a leading publishing house for your next book. So even Chetan Bhagat, we were speaking about Chetan the other day. Even Chetan Bhagat took several years from 5 point someone before he was confident enough to leave his day job and go to India and become a full-time author. So my next question, Kulpreet, to you is about that tipping point where an author hits a demand threshold where writing starts paying well as a profession.
Okay, now before I answer that, Ayon, I would just like to kind of elaborate on the naval officer thing. So, though it's technically correct to use the word naval because all the people who go to sea are naval, and I did join the Naval Officers Academy, but I ended up, as you rightly said, becoming a Coast Guard officer, and I worked for 23 years. So just want to let the audience know that I retired as a commandant from the Coast Guard.
Coast Guard Commandant. Yes. Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
So about when it starts to pay is a difficult question to answer, because writing profession is, okay, let me put it like this. You don't make money only from writing as a writer. One is, of course, the money that you're going to make off the royalties, which will be divided in advance that the publisher gives, and the royalties you get later. But also these days, very importantly, when your books are bought, the adaptation right of your books are bought by the people from the film world, there's decent money there. The third thing is when your book gets bought by some smaller publishers who do regional publishing, maybe Marathi or Bengali or Hindi, like my book, Betla Zangla, was published by Penguin, but the Hindi edition has been done by National Book Trust, which is a government organization, publishing organization, but they also pay the royalties. And then you have other benefits, like you mentioned about motivational speaking, I've not done a corporate stint. I've been an officer all my life, 23 years, and thereafter, since then, I've been a writer. But because I'm a writer, that makes me more eligible than some of the other officers who retired to go to schools and colleges and global corporate brands and talk about, creativity and storytelling and all that, which is useful for the audience. And you get paid there as well. So a writer makes money not just in India, but everywhere in the world in multiple, the revenue streams are multiple, it is not alone from the book. It is from the film rights, as I said, book and speaking. And that's what I've been doing. To be able to achieve this for anyone, I would say that once anyone reaches to a level where you are represented by a good agency, right, and a good literary agency, and because they're going to look after your commercial interests, and a big publisher accepts you, then more often than not, they give you a decent advance. And you have to, of course, work on the marketing. But even before marketing or before the publishing to happen, your book should be something that you feel or you believe is going to sell well, right? So the money that you make depends on the number of copies you sell. So if you reach a point where, let's say, a Penguin or a Harper or a Bloomsbury or a Pan Macmillan or Rupa, 4 of them have published me out of these 5. So if you reach to that level, then of course you are probably safe. But having said that, you must have come across this term known as authorpreneur. Author and entrepreneur combined together, which means that once your book comes out, you should have the confidence to go to people and talk about your book and why should they read their book, and you do it in a very subtle way. You're competing with YouTube, you're competing with influencers, you're competing with films and OTTs and web series, etc. So a combination of all this, and if you feel confident, if you feel you're able to make decent money, then probably you can sidestep. And once you sidestep and start focusing completely on this, then of course you'll find more time to expand on this and become comfortable.
Fantastic. I mean, these are excellent tips, Kulpreet. And I know because I am somebody who has done a combination of conventional and self-publishing. And in conventional publishing, I have what I felt that till you have a name for yourself, you sometimes can't decide even on the promotional strategy, the language you use, the subjects you write about. I mean, yeah, big publishing houses can kind of bulldoze you if you are new. So these are good tips to know for young authors. So thanks for this. And the supplementary sources of income, because it's, as you said, it's not linear. It's not that writing is going to suddenly replace your day job and pay you as much as your day job does. So you have to find out other avenues till you get there. So that's a very important tip, Kulpreet. I think thanks a lot for this. So so I let me now move to content, which is kind of our favorite subject as authors. So as you are such a successful fiction writer, and you are also a screenplay writer, and we'll talk about Bollywood in a bit, but I would like to understand the process of story and character assembling that you follow. Because when I write fiction, for example, my characters are people whom I have observed in real life, or maybe, a certain character could be a combination of idiosyncrasies of 2 to 3 different people, and I combine them together. But I am very interested to know, because you are so successful as a fiction writer, what's your playbook? I mean, do you really know these people like Andy Karen or Sanjana or Nick, or do you just imagine certain types of people and you install them in the ecosystem of stories that you want to tell?
It's a great question, and let me just organize my thoughts to appropriately reply to this. So what happens is creating a character for your story is one of the primary tasks of a writer. And if you're able to create a character which is relatable, who's interesting, who's in trouble, mind you, that's very important. The character has to be in trouble.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he has to be in trouble, he or she, because then only people feel comfortable. People are, psychologically, in the subconscious level, they feel very good when they come to know about the problem of others. It sometimes dwarfs their own problems. Sure. So, short answer, I'll expand on this a little bit more. Short answer is, if you have a character who's in trouble at the beginning of the book or beginning of the story, and if the troubles of that character continue to multiply through the narrative till you reach a point where you feel that where the reader is kind of unable to breathe and is really worried and emotionally invested in this character, because this character has been troubled for long in the story and is trying to do everything right, but still he's getting into more and more mess. And then you reach a climax where everything is at stake for this character, and this character goes and plays his best game, in which he may win or may not win, or whatever will happen. That will be the climax and the ending conclusion of the story. So this is how this is the biggest tip I can give. However, you need to multiple more things about where I get my inspiration from. So as you said, the people who are around you, you're directly influenced by them. Then some people about whom you read, and sometimes some of the characters after reading only will come alive in your mind. You're reading a news story, maybe you're reading a blog. Then also when you travel, you get to see people. When you're sitting at the airport, you see someone you got 2 hours to kill. You're sitting in the lounge, and there's someone who's different, who's talking on the phone, and you can observe. And last but not the least is reading. Because, all writers in the world, credible writers, invest a lot of energy in creating very interesting and very compelling characters. So when you read, subconsciously, you're also absorbing the traits of the characters whom you are not likely to come across in your life. So what really happens is, when you have a story in place or an idea in a place, when you're writing a book, then all these character traits of different people come in your mind and a character gets created. At which point, my biggest tip is that you must try to, even before beginning the story, your protagonist, try to write 5 pages, 8 pages, 10 pages about that protagonist. You should know your protagonist even before you start writing the story. Which means the basic things: how tall is he? What is his build? What is his hairstyle? What is his complexion? What kind of teeth? And then his habits. What he likes, what he does not like. What excites him. What are his secret fantasies? Where he wants to reach in life. What is his backstory? What does he think about his father, his mother, his girlfriend, his friends? Where does he want to go achieve his life? What is he afraid of? Multiple questions about him. And become that character and write 5 pages, 8 pages, 10 pages till the time you're completely exhausted. And then one of the biggest tips is go to Google and in image search, try to find, after you've written down then a character sketch in words, try to find someone who kind of looks like this person and cut, copy, paste, and put it on your laptop screen top or wherever on your screen, and look at that character long enough with all those words playing in your mind and start believing that this person is real and this is your character. What happens is in your mind, this character should come alive. And you should know in any situation that your story will get into while you're writing, because though some writers have a plan, some writers do not have a plan, but you do not know what is going to happen to this character at every step. So you as a writer also, while writing, will be surprised. Okay, this is what has happened. Suddenly his friend has come or a glass of alcohol has been spilled. Now, how is this character going to behave? You should know that, right? And that will only come to you when you understand your characters well. And readers don't know this, but sometimes readers will be disenchanted with certain stories, and after reading half the story will set the book aside. But what really doesn't work with many readers, most of the readers, in fact almost all the readers, is inconsistency of a character's behavior.
Of course.
So if you have Andy Karan, whatever, his mom has called him, and his mom was a single mother. She's been raised, she raised him, and he was in the army, and he's scared of a lot of things, but he's also courageous in multiple ways. So you have to understand that Andy Karan well. You also how he looks like, etc. And once you know, then his behavior is going to be very consistent in all the conflicts that he'll go through in the story. Right? This is what you need to do even in screenplay, and at least for the top 3 or 4 characters, if not for everyone. Usually, a good successful book would have not more than 8 characters, because if you have more than 8 characters, it gets a little confusing. So out of 8 characters, at least 4 or 5 characters should invest really a lot of effort in planning, because stories are always about characters. Stories are, people say they're about plot. Yeah, plot is also there, but it's always about story. Like Ramayana is always about Ram. So stories are about people. When you mentioned about Sholay is about 4 people or 5 people. It's about what happens, how they crisscross, and all this is secondary. But these are very interesting characters. One guy does not have a hand. There's a widow. There's a guy who's kind of casual and maverick, and there's a guy who's serious, and then the villain who's completely crazy at a very different level, right? So these are characters which are very interesting, very unique, very still relatable and compelling in certain ways. Once you have these characters in place, I say that if you have 4 characters in place whom you know very well, and they are really, really different, and they are in really big mess in their life at the beginning of the story, you already have a bestseller even before you start writing.
Absolutely. My goodness. Kulpreet, this is my favorite podcast. And I swear I'm not saying this because I'm talking to you. I mean, your answer just swept me over. I mean, as a writer, I am just blown over by the way you described how a novelist thinks. Because I have never done novels. I have done short stories. And my characters are very binary, and you are very right. You start with the character and then you get to the story. A story gets like the crisscross, and when you write short stories, you don't need to go so deep. You can pick up one idiosyncrasy of a character and get into that and create a short 10-page story out of that. But when you write a novel, I think, like you said, the consistency of the character is so important, and it is so well described by you. And I mean, I really love that. Thanks Kulpreet. So fantastic, very interesting playbook. Now let me get to what any fiction writer in India would aspire to, Kulpreet, but only a handful succeed in doing that. I mean, that is get into Bollywood and the entertainment space. And like Chetan Bhagat and Amish, you are someone who has cracked it. And whether it's your own directed shorts, your acting assignments, your screenplays, or even the book Queens of Crime that you co-wrote with Sushant Singh, Can you tell us about your Bollywood breakthrough and your journey so far? And this is a two-part question, Kulpreet. Also, how do you sense the changing landscape with OTT today, and which is really hungry for content? At least that's what outsiders like me feel. Is there really a shortage of content that creates a market for outside external talent, or does that external talent get swallowed by ghostwriting deals which are controlled by a few houses?
No, so let me answer the second part first. Uh, is there a lot of content available? The answer is yes. There's a lot of content available, there are a lot of writers. But is that content good? The answer is no. Now, if the content is not good, then how are these OTTs making money? And the simple answer to that is, you see, 3 years back, talking about India, the screen time of whatever number of smartphone owners in India, whatever few lakhs, 3, 4 years ago, was 30 minutes. Today, that number has swelled by 50 or 60 times, and the average is like 6.5 hours. So what's happening right now, and this is my appreciation completely and my experience and my own analysis, is the fact that whatever is being made, even if it is average, below average, okay-ish, good, very good, everything is being consumed because people are hungry for content, right? But I think this will not continue for a long time, because very soon there is people will have a choice, and they will take a decision whether to watch this or that. Also, OTT space is opened. The global content is also accessible to a rickshawala today. So unless your content today, he's not realized whether the international content is good or not, because he's hooked on to very ordinary Indian content. But very soon his fingers are going to move and he's going to find other content. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, these are very exciting times, and these are the times of good content. And in times to come, good content is going to be valued even more. I have been preparing for that day for last 3 to 4 years. I have been watching a lot of Western content, Indian content, and as a screenwriter, I have been breaking that down into scenes and writing it down. Sometimes, some of the top web series I've done 6 episodes into whatever, 6 seasons into 8 episodes, 30 pages each episode, screenplay for no reason at all, which has taken me a month. But if I like something for the learning purpose. So, how did my Bollywood thing happen? So, it happened by accident. Because a lot of my books, including Queens of Crime, were optioned by good production companies in Mumbai. They paid me good money. And I was very excited by those deals, because I thought, okay, at last the day has come and my book will also be, become a film or a web series and people will watch. But unfortunately, that did not happen, because when I did more analysis, I realized that Bollywood filmmakers, they instinctively like a book and they buy the deals. They buy the rights of the book, but they really do not have the capacity to convert that novel into a screenplay, because novel is written in a different way, screenplay is written in a different way. So that link was missing, and I thought, why not I step into this? Because it's been 3, 4 years, several books were bought, and it's very good for writers, because my book rights will normally go for about 1.5 years. So I'll get an advance payment, which is decent. And after that time elapses 1.5 year and they don't do anything, I don't have to return the money. The rights come back to me and I will sell it to someone else. So some of my books have sold rights multiple times.
So they buy and sit on the book.
They buy and sit on the book. So let's say if it's $100, so what they do is they'll give you 20 rupees. They have two options. One is to give you 100 rupees and take the rights forever. Whether they make or not is now their problem. But they don't do that, because why should they waste their money? So the 100 rupees is written in your agreement, but they give you only 20%, because they say that we want to take your rights for 1 year or 1.5 years. And you negotiate with them. You would like to give it for 1 year. They would like to keep it for 2 years so that they have enough time and find investors, etc. It's a complicated business. And when they're not able to do anything about your book, because they buy rights for 20 books at the same time, right? And finally, they will be able to convert one book or maybe no books in that period. So all the writers will get their rights back. And now the moment you get your right back, you become eligible to sell it again, right? So that part was okay. But the basic thing was not about money. Basic thing was the excitement for me was to be able to see my stories, which were in words, in action on the screen, which is not happening. So I had a conversation with another officer, retired officer who's from the same organization, officer called Commander Dinesh Kumar Chauhan, a good friend of mine, junior to me. So I told him, Aisa, what should we do? He's got some relatives in the film industry. And he said, it is not possible perhaps to make a whole film. Why don't we make short films, with our own money? So me and him, we pooled in our money and then we learned how to make a film. And so far in the last 3 years, we've made 6 short films. The 6th one is going to release soon, probably in a month's time. And we've also produced...
and Stranger in the Bedroom was one of them?
Stranger in the Bedroom was one of them. Stranger in the Bedroom was my first directorial venture with my own money, and me and my friend produced it. It's a 10-minute film, and I think it's an ordinary film. I can say it to everyone. I don't fear that. We had less time, we had less experience, but for whatever reasons, it became a hugely successful short film in the net. Yes. On Facebook itself, it has garnered 53 or 54 million views. It's like 5 crore people in India. It's like, almost every in every town, probably third or fourth person might have seen that film. So that gave me confidence, because that was kind of a interesting conflict in a story. I'll not go into that, but that happened. But some of the films also did not do well. Now, where I stand today, I'm hoping to make a feature film probably next year. We've got a script, and I'm actively looking for investors, because making a short film is a different thing and making a film is a different thing. I don't know which way it'll go, but I'm 100% sure it will succeed, because that's my training in Forge. When you do something well, you definitely want to succeed. So probably that'll happen. My acting career also happened by accident, as I said, because one of the films, not Stranger in My Bedroom, but a film called as Graveyard and the Madman. So that happened because my partner said, we don't have actors and we don't have money to give to actors, so why don't we act ourselves? So we ended up, I was not very convinced initially, because I never thought of myself as an actor in my entire life. Some people do when you look in the mirror, make some faces, and I've seen a lot of guys, and I think 50% of the guys want to become actors, and girls too, and which is absolutely all right. But I never somehow, for whatever reason, I never thought of myself as an actor. But he convinced me that I'll be able to do a good job, and he had a story, and I acted in that. I think I did a terrible job. In between, I stopped that film, and I thought these people are just clapping because they're all younger and junior to me, and they're making a fool of me. And I had this complex. I thought probably, they are internally enjoying, me doing all that thing. But they were very serious, and they said, no, sir, doing a good job. And with confidence given by them, I finished the film. And I told my partner after the film was finished, I said, I was just doing it so that you people don't get disappointed, but now delete it. Right? And he said, why? He said, why don't you give me time and let me do something on this? And he's a very creative guy. So he sat with an editor and he said, I'll send you 1 minute snippet, a kind of a trailer. And he sent me, I remember, 1 minute, 13 second snippet after a month with background music and, Foley and all that. And I looked at it and I said, oh my God, this is not bad. So, I asked my wife and I asked some other friends. And then everybody said it is okay. And then the film came out. It didn't do well, of course. We just have about 40,000 views on YouTube. But the people who saw, quite a few of them said, they said that probably, Kulpreet, you may not be a trained actor, but you can become an actor because you have that natural, instinctive way of talking and behaving. And then I realized, I am to be frank with you, all my life, last 18 years, I've been writing books and I've been creating characters. And I told you the amount of energy that I spend in creating characters. Now, I've been creating characters in words. If I become an actor, I'm creating characters by action. So it's not much difference, right? So and it's a very competitive world, casting companies. So I send my video introduction and photographs to top 5 casting companies. And it's a very fair system, by the way, whatever people might say to become an actor. It's a very fair system, at least at my age, what I've experienced the last 2 years. So the casting company will send you a script. Whenever they feel that some character suits you, they'll send you a script, and they'll send that script to 500 other people. And you have to read that script and understand where the clothes, according to your sensibility at your home, and make an audition. And
do a video and send it back to them.
Send it back to them. And if you shortlist it, if they want to make any changes, they'll say, no, do this, do that, whatever. and you have to prepare the dialogues, and sometimes there'll be second character. If you have a friend, you can make the person say it. Otherwise, somebody could be, behind the camera to give, a voiceover kind of thing. What in film you call as cue, to give cue. And you send that, and if you're shortlisted, the casting company will shortlist for each character about 4 or 5 people and send to the director. And my name was sent to, these were big companies, so they sent me, and few times I got shortlisted. And out of those few times, 2, 3 roles I got. They're very minor roles, but then the biggest of the directors in India said, okay, this guy is okay for this role. Call him and give him this. So that gave me more confidence.
You were in Archie's, right?
Yeah, I was in Archie's. I was in Article 370. I was there in this web series called Asur.
I know Article 370. I remember the role. And Archie's, you were the canteen manager or something.
Yeah,
right?
I was a club. Yeah, it
club
was
manager. Club manager. Yeah, I remember. Zoya Akhtar's. I mean, it's big. I mean, it's like completely a list. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Super. So what and very nicely you explained, and there are a lot of takeaways from it, because like you said at the end, that it's a very democratic and an open process, because many people excuse me, are disillusioned, thinking that it's a murky kind of a place where it's just nepotism and all that. But it's not that. I mean, if you are doing, it's a fair place, and if you have talent, you have a fair shot at it. So great. I mean, that's great. So now I guess we need to all find the sweet spot in terms of our writing process, Kulpreet. And I want to learn from you. So I'm sure that our young and creative viewers are also eager to understand understand somebody such a successful writer like you. What is your writing process? So I always feel that there are principally 2 kinds of writers. The ones who put inspiration over method, and who are happy to space out their work until they have a real inspirational surge, like most classical writers of old times. And then there are writers who follow the workman mode, as I call it. I mean, and they discipline themselves to keep writing every single day. I mean, some people even have fixed hours where they go and sit on a desk and start writing. I call it the Murakami or a Seth Godin kind of way of just cranking output like a factory, knowing that your blockbusters will show up eventually somewhere down the road, but you cannot plan for a blockbuster, because blockbusters, when they come, they'll just be sleeper hits. So what is your approach, Kulpreet? I mean, given that you've delivered 16 pretty high quality products, you must be pretty disciplined as a writer in terms of doing it regularly, or am I wrong?
No, I am disciplined. I'll admit this. I am very disciplined, and I work hard. But I also about my method. The latest book that you spoke about, which came out on 20th of this month, that's a non-fiction book, and it's based a lot on research. So my non-fiction book method is different. I'm also currently researching for a non-fiction book set in 1857. So, but writing fiction is different. But as far as timing is concerned, it is mostly same. I rarely write early mornings. I rarely write late nights. I never write after sunset. Let whatever happen. I never write when I'm drinking. I need to be sober.
You don't write when you're drinking?
No, I don't. I love to drink, and but I think that discipline has come to me from ships. Because, contrary to whatever people believe, but when you're in officer in uniform, ships, nobody is allowed drinking. You can only drink when the ship touches the base. So sometimes you might be in ship for weeks together, but you can't drink. I'm talking about the services forces ship. I don't know about merchant navy, but I think they're also technically
they have stopped it now, I think.
Yeah. So you can't drink, and drinking when you're on duty at ship. I mean, you won't be on duty 24 hours because you're on duty 8 hours, and 16 hours is free for you. But it is a court-martial offense, and it is like blasphemy. You just can't drink when you are working. So somehow probably it's come from there. But I don't know. I feel that if I drink and write, it will be a very... I consider writing not in a religious way, but otherwise I consider it a very holy creative process. And I don't want to... not that there is anything unholy about drinking, because I love drinking also. But anyway, long story short, I write usually in the mornings. That is after my breakfast, 9 to 1, 1:30, 2. That's my best time. Winters, I go for a walk around 10:30, 11 because Delhi is pleasant when I'm in Delhi. And I come back and I write. I don't write after lunch, and I don't write after lunch for the whole afternoon or evening, night. Very rarely, sometimes if I'm writing a very interesting part and if I feel that there is a requirement for me to be completely fresh, I might even wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. But that'll happen once or twice in a book. When I'll wake up at 4 o'clock, I may not even have breakfast and go till 10 in the morning, in 6 hours at a stretch. So it's a mix of various things. But I don't have daily target of 2,000 words or 3,000 words. There are days when I've written 3,000, 4,000 words, and there are days when I've written only 200 words. I don't force myself to do it, but I'm aware at the back of my mind, like any creative person, that certain amount of you will have to force yourself a little bit, because all creative people are by nature lazy, and the reason for that is we always want to do very good. We want our poetry or our painting or our singing or our writing to be best, and we are waiting for that best moment and that best mood. And there might be something irritating us in our mind, and that might be stopping us. But writing is a very magical, process and experience for me. Even if for that matter, anybody, whatever mood you might be in, but if you sit down with a piece of paper and pen, there is something magical about the process of writing, because you don't write by your conscious mind alone. You write by your conscious plus subconscious mind. Because when you read one page, you know what you've written. But if you write 5 pages, then after one page, when you're reading your second page, you yourself are surprised. Oh my God, this is not bad. This is not bad. Let me read this. How can I do this? So writing is we discover our latent capacity to think and create more than what consciously we think we are capable of. So you end up producing very pure, very new ideas and stories when you write. That's the magic part of writing, and I've experienced that for so many years now. So that's by and large my process. I do a lot of reading, which I think is very essential. I do a lot of traveling. I go for festivals, literature festivals. Nowadays, I go less because I've been there quite a few times. But initially, when I was younger and younger in writing, I used to go and listen to a lot of writers sitting on stage and talk. Because I think there's some kind of purity person's behavior when you make him sit on the stage and give him a mic. My own experience is that people don't lie. When you talk to someone about even a criminal, about a crime he's conducted, and you give him a mic and there are 50 people sitting in front of him, he's going to speak the truth.
So well said. Yes.
Yeah. So what happens is when you listen to these writers, and we've got such amazing writers in India. I've got several of them are good friends of mine, and I've grown up learning from them.
You do what? The Jaipur Fest? Which fests do you do?
Jaipur Fest, I've been invited, I think, twice. I've also, when I was not invited and I was a younger writer in the initial stages of my career, I've just gone as an audience and attended. I've been a part of Pune Literature Festival for 7 years straight now, because I know for some reason they keep inviting me. Probably the reason for that is I'm a big fan of the director, and I keep reading her books, and she's amazing. And I've been to Nagpur a few times. I've been to Chandigarh. I've also been to Singapore. I've been to Bangkok and multiple places. I've been to Bangalore. So wherever. So these days I don't go that.
Also awarded the best writer, right? It was the Gurgaon Fest, which.
Yeah, I got best writer in Gurgaon Fest for Murder in Pahalganj. So they had, I believe the organizers told me, the 400 books, and they had made a long list of 20 and then a short list of 5. So I was there in top short list of 5. They invited us for a function, and I was 100% sure that all these things are rigged, and I've already come too high in this list, and I don't think I stand in any chance, because Murder in Pahalganj, I consider it as a very intelligent novel that I've done, because in a space of 250 pages, sub-event wise, I think there are probably, I don't know, 200, 300 subplots in that story, So it's quite complicated in that sense. One has to read 2-3 times to grasp the whole thing. And it is also an international espionage novel. But to my pleasant surprise, my name was announced and I got that prize, and it was money-wise good.
Awesome, awesome. So many takeaways, for any creative person from your answer, Kulpreet, in terms of disciplining yourself, how you do it. Couple of things, for like you, it was like eye-opening for me that you don't write when you drink, because many writers do that, and I
Yeah, yeah,
must
absolutely
confess,
okay. Yeah.
I confess I do that. Uh,
Okay.
sometimes some of my good writing has surprised me in the next morning was I have written after a few drinks. So, but maybe I'll try your cue which you said, and that's it. The other thing I wanted to know, and before I go to the last, because I'm sure the audience has many questions, but I wanted to know, like, what happens when inspiration strikes you, like you said, in winters you're going out for a walk at 10:30, 11. You're walking in a foggy Delhi morning, it's cold, and suddenly an idea comes, and but you are not having a pen and paper with you. So do you just take your phone and just jot it down, or what's your method?
So earlier my method was to jot it down, but nowadays for the last 5 years I don't jot down anything when ideas come to me, because if I'm not able to recall that idea a week later, then I think the idea was probably not good enough. So
Okay.
like every week or 10 days, I'll sit down with my laptop and I'll recall. Okay, in the last 10 days, what all ideas and news stories or films or web series impressed me. And if I'm not able to recall the idea, which I just have a kind of a faint memory that something had moved me when I was walking 3 days ago. But if I'm not able to recall it at the time I want to recall, then probably the idea was not good enough, and I abandoned it. Right now, I'm sitting on 5, 6 very good ideas which I want to develop, and there's dearth of time. So I'm doing mostly non-fiction work right now, and I have idea for the next 4 or 5 books. I want to do some biographies, so I've got a wish list also. I want to do biographies of some people. I don't know how that will shape up. I want to do some self-help books. For the first time in my life, I've started believing that I should try at least one mythology, because I haven't. But I'm excited about it. So multiple things are going on in my mind. So I don't know what I'll pick, and what is most compelling at one point and why.
I read a recent post by you where you drew analogies from Ramayana and Mahabharata.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
so when you
Yeah,
say
that's precisely. Yeah,
yeah,
you found the right example. So I've started
yeah,
moving. I never thought I would probably be thinking like this and writing, but I don't know. It's maybe the age, or maybe I don't know why,
how
but
about spirituality?
yeah. So I'm a spiritual person, I feel, but not in the way people think spirituality is. I'm a thinking person, but I'm not very religious by nature. I've not read a lot of spiritual books. I'm going to be frank in my reply. I have also not listened to many of these great spiritual gurus who say a lot of inspiring things. I might have, maybe seen some stories, because I feel I'm at a point in my life where I'm very peaceful and content.
Okay.
And in corporate, one of the topics that I speak on and do workshops is on anger management. I've done very few of such talks, but I've given few. And my method is unique and original, and my own method. So I don't lose temper. I don't think I've lost temper in the last 12, 13, 14 years.
Wow.
I can get irritated maybe a little bit, but I'm generally very comfortable with the way things are going. So I've got my own method. I don't meditate, but I do something which I was talking to someone the other day, and he said, "You must meditate." And then he asked me about my routine in a day, and I told him certain things, and he said, "You don't have to meditate. You're already meditating in many ways."
As
So
long as you get the results, yeah. As long as you get
yeah,
the results.
I feel a person who's traveled a lot and read a lot and met a lot of people, that anyway grounds us in multiple ways, and also the experience of mine that I've had, where I've seen life, death. I've moved places. I've shifted 17 houses in 23 years when I was there. And uh, I think all this openness, creativity, learning, sharing has probably made me more tolerant in a very organic sort of a way. So I don't feel any need. I don't feel absence of religion. I don't feel absence of spirituality. But yes, tomorrow, maybe with more experience in life, I can write my own version
Correct.
of what I think is the method that works for me. And maybe it might bring peace and comfort and success to other people also. I don't know whether I'll do this or not, but I might at some point.
Yeah, because somebody like a trajectory like yours, you will I mean, I'm again, I'm just guessing that somewhere along the way you'll probably stumble upon spirituality, and you'll probably write about it, because you are somebody whose life has been a journey of self-discovery and going from point A to point B constantly, and you've been evolving. So Kulpreet, before we move to the audience questions, one small last question I have from you is, we all need to, we said that now before we, as someone who's followed his passion and made a second career out of it, what would be your advice to youngsters who feel that they have a strong inclination towards the passion, but their ankles, like I said, are tied by responsibilities? I mean, how does one walk the delicate balance of having a good life and also having a fulfilling life?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and let me give you a very honest answer, practical answer that's going to help people. You see, making money out of passion and creative professions is extremely hard, because very few people are going to be successful. So leaving your job straight away is not something that one must do. What one must do is the fact that if you want to be a singer or a painter or a writer or an actor, you try to do that in your spare time, probably on weekends or some other time. Try to do those things and see where it takes you. If you succeed, if the money starts coming, and you also spend some time in making yourself financially comfortable, which can last maybe 3-4 years of your experimentation. You got to first secure yourself financially, is what I'm saying. Probably 2-3 years down the line, and then take a plunge. But before taking a full-time plunge, you should have prepared yourself and tested the waters. Like, if you want to be an actor, for example, and you are 40 years old and you are in, let's say in Tokyo working, and you just have this burning desire that probably you can become a good actor, but you're too scared. So you need to plan for it, because you're taking this decision very late in life. So you got to plan. You got family responsibilities set. So become financially comfortable, make some sacrifices, save some money, and at the same time go to an acting school or whatever, or practice at home, watch movies, try to meet casting people in Japan or wherever you are, in Spain, Italy, India, and get out of a comfort zone. Watch certain scenes and act at home. Ask people that they should send you a casting script and do a good job of it and send. If you get 2, 3, 4 assignments, and you feel that your social media and everywhere it's started to grow, and meanwhile you've saved money also, then you can probably take a plunge for a limited period of time, right? So this requires planning. This is not something that you can do just at a whim, right. That you have a Saturday night great party with your friends, and in the party you declare in front of 10 people, tomorrow onwards I'm quitting this job because it is too bad, and I want to be an actor and I'm going to superstar soon.
And I have seen some people do that and land up with egg on their face. So, but the way you've done it, that's why I asked this question, because you spaced it out so well, Kulpreet. And so that's, I think, great lessons for others.
And financially also, in a habit wise, you got to be frugal. Let's say you've got money for 2 years, and you should try to make it last for 3 years, and try to be frugal, try to be disciplined, try to be practical, try to go ahead. And after you should know when to pull the plug. And after 1.5, 2 years, you feel it's not working, it's absolutely all right. You can bounce back to your job again. Right. Having said that, I must also tell you that there are a lot of writers in India who have full-time jobs. There are IAS officers, IPS officers. Mr. Vikas Swarup, who's IFS officer in India, has come out with a new book, and his books do very well, but he's still chosen not to leave his diplomat's job, because it's apart from status, there's a lot of money and all that, pension, etc., which gets secured. So you got to balance these things. This is a decision which cannot be taken instinctively. It cannot be taken emotionally. It has to be taken practically.
So well said. So well said. So well said. I think this is what we need to know, because especially younger generations, because there's a lot of you mentioned the word gurus some time back. So we have a lot of self-proclaimed gurus out there in the world today who tell people to follow their passion, and passion hypothesis, I call it. And they mislead so many youngsters that they think that I'll give up my day job and just become an actor or a writer, and they go and start. It doesn't work out that way. You need to have a runway, and you need to. It's like you have your own startup. Like you said, I have money for 2 years, but I want to make it last for 3 years. So that's so well said. I think that's great lesson. So Kulpreet, without there are so many questions here from people. So some people are so excited. Pratik was saying finally we get to see the live session. Lavanya is saying yes. Then Aniket was saying waiting for the session, because there are a lot of questions and comments. So I'll try to read the questions. So
Sure.
Pratik is asking you transitioned from a naval officer to a creative powerhouse. What sparked this change, and how did you find the courage to start over? I think you just answered it just before.
Yes, I have. So yeah, it's a decision which was hard to take, but with the support of family, with self-belief, with discipline. Here I would like to say, I don't know whether this is a known thing or not, but I follow the 3 C's. And 3 C's, the first C for me is courage. And courage applies to anything and everything that we do in life, even professional life, personal life, relationships, everything requires courage.
Sure.
Business, writing. So first is courage. Second is creativity. Whatever we do, we should be creative, not just in writing books, but also marketing them, or managing your affairs in life. And you need to be creative for everything that you do. And the third thing is consistency. You should not give up and feel bad about it, and just keep on going from one failure to. I have a lot of failure stories. No time, but I have a lot of failure stories, and at some other point, probably I can share those stories with the audience. I've failed miserably several times, and that's just part of life. But sometimes it may break you, and you should have the courage to move on and be consistent in trying to do what you do. Is what I'll say.
So modest of you, Kulpreet. I'm so humble of you that you acknowledge. Not so many people after getting where you have got acknowledge that they have also failed along the way, but that's really you. So Aniket is asking, sir, what's the biggest challenges that you faced while juggling multiple careers? How have you overcome them?
So multiple careers and how to overcome them is a simple answer. One is discipline, time management, a little bit. And you should be able to prioritize your things. Everybody knows this. So it's not very hard. You should know when to say no, when to say yes, what to do in what order. And in your personal life, try to, declutter your personal life, personal space. I think everything pays up, We are taught in the academy how your cupboard should look, So yes. Cupboard is expected. And if you come to my house today and see, my cupboard always remains in very good shape. Not as good as a cabinet, but very good. So I know where what is. I've seen a lot of people just spend a lot of time searching for their handkerchiefs or a particular shirt or a tie or a cufflink or a car chain, for example, car keys. Sorry, beg your pardon. So organizing your personal space, organizing your finance, organizing your payments, organizing your clothes, remaining fit. If you're fit, you go for walks, run, whatever, that's going to give you more energy to work. So all these things, small, as the book is their Atomic Habits, so small difference, small things, if you cut on if you start doing small things, they add up and become really huge, and you don't realize the power of this. So that's it. Yeah, just this and
regular things. Yeah.
There are. I must also say that there are millions of people who do it a lot better than me, and there are people who manage so much more. And in fact, I'll be very honest here, and I'm not being modest, I'm just being truthful, right? I'm also a very, very simple and lazy person. Sometimes I will not work, sometimes I'll just sleep. Some days I'll just not talk to anybody, not out of disrespect or anything, just be myself and drink and chill and all that. So I'm very ordinary in that sense. So there are a lot of people who do much more hard work than me, much more proficient, much more talented, and they do better time management also. But then you should know where your space is, right? So maybe Aniket can find his own comfort zone. Don't burn yourself out, because life should be long and it should be enjoyable. And not everybody is going to become superstar in the world. Some of us are going to lead ordinary life, which is fine. Some of us are going to lead below ordinary life, is also fine, right? So we should try but at the same time, not really, you know, not really worry too much if things don't work out, is what I'd say.
Perfect. I think in any case, like Kulpreet said, it's not about just about the years in the life, but also the life in the years. And
Yeah.
what you said, Kulpreet, reminded me of Murakami. So because Murakami, after a certain age, he was not an athlete when he was a young person, but after a certain age, he took up running. You know this, I'm sure. So he took up running for the simple reason that he wanted to extend his have a few more decades where he could, write and send out more art and leave a better legacy. So he wanted to extend his life not just for the love of life, but because he wanted to extend his art for a few more decades. So that's where health is important. So Mira is asking you, what was it like transitioning into Bollywood as a screenwriter and actor? Any surprises along the way?
Yeah, multiple surprises. I thought that I'm pretty mediocre, but a lot of people came and praised my acting performances. Even on the set, when I gave my first acting shot, people started clapping and said, our reputed director shouted and said, "Great shot, Kulpreet." And I'm looking here and who am I talking to? Sometimes you just have to say a sentence, "Arey tum kahan gaye the?" And 100 people are watching you because sets, big film, a lot of people, and then someone will start clapping and say, "Oh, what a shot and what an act." And I fail to understand. I don't want to be in the great profession of acting, but I think it's very enjoyable. And yes, all these surprises have happened. I've made friends, and it's a completely new world. And I have walked into this world believing that it is beautiful. And trust me, it is beautiful. So I spend half my time in Mumbai and half in Delhi. Currently, I'm in Delhi. So I maintain both the places. I go there, I make friends, I party, I do everything. And all my friends are new in Bollywood because I made these friends in my 50s. And some of them become very, very close friends. And one or two of them, they've become almost like brothers to me, to be honest. And I never thought this was possible at the, because, you make your best friends in school and college, not later, right? That's what everyone believes. And I thought that is how it is. But my experience in Bollywood has been very different. I made friends, and I'm leading a surprisingly good life. This is not to give an impression that I'm having a lot of money or enjoying it too much and all that. Of course, there are struggles, there are pitfalls, there are failures, etc. But overall speaking, it's very satisfying.
Fantastic. No, I think, that's what you've said, that it's not just school and college. I think, whenever we are growing as human beings and we have an aspirational element inside us where we want to achieve something, I think that's where we start making friends, because we still have that hunger. We are not like satisfied. So I think I see that. And you are a natural. I mean, Kulpreet, the way you talk, even here you're talking, I can imagine how you will be behind in front of a camera. So great. So Rashi has asked you that, does your military not military exactly, you have been in Naval and Coast Guard background, influence the characters and themes that you write about in your screenplays?
Certainly, yes, because a man is a product of the experience that he or she has. So my considerable amount of my time was spent as an officer in uniform, 23 long years. So yes, the people I have met, the experiences that I've had, does help me to create characters and give them certain depth. But also my life, I left my job in 2014, so it is 11th year going now. So even the outside experiences have helped. But to answer your question, yes, it does helps me to write and do better.
So there are many questions, Kulpreet. I think we are just up on time. I'll just read out some, because many of them you answered in part or full already in the previous questions. So Alisha is asking you, any upcoming projects or goals you're excited about? You said that you're working on a number of them, and you are wanting a screenplay for a feature film, you said.
Yes, that's right. So that's it. My book has just come out. Another book is going to come out next year. It's on 1857. Yeah, more or less, these are the things.
Raj is asking you, how do you see the work in Bollywood contributing to broader cultural conversation in India?
That to answer this question would take me a couple of hours, but just in a nutshell, Bollywood has a huge impact on our society, and any film industry has a huge impact on society of whichever country, and it does have an effect. And And if negative things are there, then the negative effect gets conveyed. However, we cannot just blame the film industry for all the negative in society, because film industry is just trying to mimic the real life. So real life and film industry are feeding on each other. Sure. So, and also I must be also frank that I'm not qualified enough to talk about the cultural impact of films on the society, because this requires deep analysis and deep study. And I'm not someone who's thought about this at all. But broadly speaking, yes, it has huge impact on the society. And we have some great filmmakers, and some of the films that we make are also very inspirational and moving, and have a very positive impact.
Yeah, and it works both ways. I think films inspire life, and life inspires film. Life inspires films, inspire films. So, just the last two questions I'll take. Varun's question is already answered. So he's asking, how do you approach storytelling differently for a book versus a screenplay? I think you said this in one of the previous answers, that writing a book is very different from writing a screenplay. You imagine?
Yeah. If I can just add a word, what happens in screenplays, you can never write what a character is thinking. But in a book, you can write, Amar was going and he was thinking that he's missing his wife today. But you can't write that on screen, because you have to make him do something.
Spot on. Yeah. Totally. Very, very good insight. I mean, I never thought of it this way. I mean, I've never thought of writing a screenplay, but I never thought, in a screenplay, you can't actually write what this guy is thinking.
Absolutely.
Very well said. And the last question, and this is, of course, a question which every writer gets. How do you deal with a writer's block?
I've been one of the most fortunate writers. I've never experienced writer's block in my life.
Wow. Because of your I'm sure because of your discipline, because you just get down there and crank output.
I don't know. I believe in the core of my heart that I'm a writer. Then how can I stop myself from writing? I know it's not occurred to me. But to those who get affected, I've spoken to my friends and also heard them speak and about their bad experiences. I think what everyone says is, just write out there and believe that you're going to write, and the magic of writing experience will take you forward.
So well said. And I think, I'll probably just add a little bit to it, Sahil. I'll quote Seth Godin for this, who is a daily blogger for 20 years now, more than 20 years. He says that if you don't get the good posts out there, write a bad post. So if you write a bad post, the good posts will eventually come somewhere or the other. So, keep writing, and, the writer's block doesn't come. So I suffer from writer's block, but I'm probably not as disciplined as Kulpreet. So I think, Kulpreet, it has been such a pleasure having you. And like I said, cross my heart, this has been my favorite podcast so far. I mean, you really, just swept me over. I mean, it was, with your answers, and just so much learning for me personally as a writer. I mean, and I'm sure it's same for the audience as well. And so with this, all of us wish you very well for Battle of Haji Pir, and also, your upcoming book on 1857, and your feature film that's coming up hopefully very soon. And thank you for entertaining, enlightening, teaching us, Kulpreet, and inspiring us by being somebody like you, and shown that it's possible for somebody in their 40s to leave a decorated career and start a new career and be very successful in that career. So really, thank you very much, Kulpreet, for taking time with us.
Thank you very much. You're very kind, and I've just had such a pleasure speaking to you, and all the very best to you as well. Thank you.
My pleasure, Kulpreet. Thank you, and all the best to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guests.
Bye. Cheers.